What's up guys, it's Andrew from Motorcycles Off-Road. In this video, I want to show you guys how to get yourself into a dual sport for under $3,000. Now this is a follow-up video. I did a video like this last year and I listed motorcycles, basically reviewed motorcycles that I had before and why they would be good motorcycles for you to pick up that were relatively inexpensive. The thing is, there was a lot of people saying, well, I can't find this one or I can't find that one, are they even in your area? So this time I wanted to do it a little bit different this year, and I wanted to actually show you motorcycles that are in my area that I was able to find for that price point, which is around $3,000 or less. Now the requirements here are the price point and also that are within 250 miles of my location. I have had people come a further distance, like an 8-hour drive or so, to pick up a motorcycle that I had that I was selling, that I refurbished, cleaned up and everything, but that's kind of rare. I feel like a 200-mile range is about right, where somebody's willing to take their son or their wife and go for a day trip to go pick up a very clean motorcycle that they saw online, that maybe they had conversations with the seller sent them videos of it running, and you know, that you were able to see, etc. So you want to do your research before you go, or sometimes you might be able to find something that's 40 minutes away and you just run up there real quick and check it out. But I would say about 200 miles, maybe a little bit further, is pretty much the limit that most people are willing to do. So onto the list, let's check out some awesome dual sport motorcycles. Number one on my list will be a KLR 250. I actually really enjoy this bike. I think it's a great motorcycle for anybody who's starting off in the beginning. There's many different options, but you can definitely get it down to $300. This particular one I found for $2,500. This motorcycle is a 6-speed transmission, 24 to 28 horsepower depending on what year you get it, and it's relatively light as far as dual sports are concerned. They're single cylinder carbureted, very simple to work on. It's very easy to upgrade this motorcycle as well. You can open up the exhaust, you can take your carburetor off right out the side without even removing much else. You can put a little washer underneath the needle valve. Jets are like $15 for a kit on Amazon. So overall, these are great. They're a good extra bike in your stable, and are also a good motorcycle if you're getting started out in dual sporting, or if you just want something that you don't have to care about, that you can beat the crap out of and it's just going to last. And that is the KLR 250. Now say you want to go a little bit bigger, you can find yourself a KLR 650, which I have one here. They've been around forever, just like the 250s. Well, the 250s stopped in production and was replaced later on. I think the early 2000s, the KLX might have been its replacement. But the 650s are still in production today. Obviously, a lot of you guys know. But this is a big, heavy motorcycle. This motorcycle generally is 430 to 460 pounds. And it's more of an adventure motorcycle. But it has tons of torque and 40 horsepower. Very good overall, and they're known for reliability. In fact, there's whole videos of people just trying to beat the crap out of this bike and it's still going. Some people say the doohickey has to be replaced, some people say it doesn't. It's like $100 part. You can do it in one afternoon, and you can always check when somebody buys it, when somebody has it for you to buy, if the doohickey has been done or not. So the KLR 650, if you're looking for more of an adventure style bike, that's something to look at. Although a lot of people consider it a dual sport, in my feeling, it weighs as much as my Tenere. That's an adventure bike, in my opinion. But it's still a great bike to pick up for under $3,000 if you can find one. All right, next we have my beloved DR 350. The DR 350 was one of my favorite motorcycles of all time. I actually did not replace this motorcycle when the 400 came out. I didn't replace it until the 300L came out because it was very similar as far as a 6-speed transmission, similar power, etc. DR 350 has a big place in my heart. If you can get one for $3,000, I think it's a solid motorcycle overall. Looking around 30 horsepower, about 280 pounds, and basically dead reliable. And it seems that these motorcycles stick around forever. People still have them in great running condition. The first thing people always say, like in this one for example, starts right up, has everything street legal, etc. every single time. This video is kind of choppy, but it gives you a little walk around, and a lot of times I would ask for a video of a cold start when I go to look at these motorcycles anyway, so it's nice that people put that in there. And there's another one. This styling, it's crazy. I would get this guy to come down a little bit more, but it's awesome that he says he has the suspension just recently done. So long as he had paperwork for that, it might actually be worth $3,200. And also, he listed it 25 weeks ago, so he's probably pretty motivated to sell. He probably listed it, you know, at the end of the season last year, maybe started it 1 or 2 times, and then there it sits, and it could be, you know, your dream bike just sitting there waiting for you. All right, next, of course, we can talk about the DR 650. The 650 is a motorcycle I've never owned, but there's a lot online as far as references, as far as what you can do to modify this motorcycle very inexpensively and make it pretty awesome. It sits on a little of the heavier end, but it also has a lot of power. Now, I know previously we were talking about the KLR 650, but this is a completely different animal in my opinion. I feel like when you classify adventure motorcycles and dual sports, there's a weight difference here, right? But there's 2 motorcycles in my mind that are kind of break the mold, and that is the KTM LC4 640, which I had, or the 690, which is today, and the DR 650. And the reason why I say that is because they're kind of both. They're not really a dual sport, they're not really an adventure bike. They sit around 350 pounds, and they kind of like can do either one really well, and you can definitely build the motorcycle out to do either one really well. Now, will you be bombing single trail with the DR 650? Probably not, but at the end of the day, you could. I mean, we do it with the DRZ 400, so, and that's not much less as far as weight's concerned. Now, what's nice about the DR 650 is it also has a little bit lower of a seat height at 33 inches, and some people kind of like that. 33, 34 inches is a comfort zone for a lot of shorter riders, especially with a bike that's a little more heavy. This one's really clean. I love this one. Man, he's even got a trail tack on it. Very nice. And here's the last one. And if you get an older model, like this one's the 90s, I believe it'll be kickstart. And I had people in the last video talk about, well, kickstart's not a disadvantage. Okay, you're right. It's not. And in fact, it's great when a motorcycle has both. But the problem is, if you ride hard and you get on a rocky situation, you're off camber, you're trying to hold this bike up while holding the brake and the clutch and kickstart the thing, because these bikes don't, a lot of these bikes won't let you kickstart them or even start them without holding the clutch, like the DRs, for example. And it just becomes a nightmare, especially if you're tired and you've already picked up the bike like 3 or 4 times. It's nice to have electric start. And I get it's not a disadvantage to have kickstart, but a high compression engine and all these things considered, yes, sometimes I'd rather have an electric start. And if you don't believe me, look at every motorcycle today. None of them have kickstart for that reason, unless they're specific trying to save weight for, like, you know, a motocross type bike. Like not dual sports. They're usually not doing that sort of thing. But in any case, it's an ambiguous thing. You could think of it how you want. I'm just giving you my opinion. There's another one. Wow, look at that 90s style. You just can't beat it. That's just something that looks good in the garage, and you can just rip out there and beat the crap out of it, and it just lasts forever. All right, next. This only has one picture, but I had to put this one up because it's my exact bike that I used to have, my XT 350. These motorcycles are pretty cool. I put them second rate to the DR 350 for a couple reasons. One major reason is I don't like their carburetors. They have a dual carburetor setup, which I don't know if you've ever experimented with them on like a Raptor 660 or anything like that. Sometimes they're a nightmare to tune in because they don't work as you would think they would. Like the one carburetor on the left handles low RPMs, and then the carburetor on our right handles high RPMs. And a lot of people, you'll see it in forums, that do a conversion where they put one solid carburetor on there. And yeah, so that's kind of annoying. Mine was also a nightmare to kick. You could get it started at the beginning of the day, no problem when you're fresh, but yeah, if you stalled it out in some mud or something, it had some, you had to have some power behind that kick to get that thing started. So it's a good motorcycle. It really is. I put in footage of multiple videos of me riding this particular motorcycle in that exact color scheme. You can pick it up for under $3,000. It'll last forever. So, you know, it's on the list. If you want an older XT 350, check it out. All right, next, if you're on the shorter side, I always recommend the XT 225 or XT 250. And are basically a very similar bike. A little bit of backstory. I did have an XT 225, a very clean one, but So the XT225s were the first motorcycle with the square headlight. Then eventually they changed it to a 250. Then around 2013, they started changing the 250 to fuel injection. Overall, they're very similar. They're very mild power, 5-speed transmission, and I would say like 14, 15 horsepower. And they probably weigh about 270 pounds. But they have a 31-inch seat height, which is really low. So if you're a new person or you want a motorcycle that's confidence inspiring for your girlfriend to ride with you, this is the motorcycle street legal out of the box. Anybody can throw a leg over it. I mean, to put it in perspective, it has like the seat height of like a TTR 125 or a CRF like 150F. Like it's low, which makes it a very good motorcycle for a beginner or a very good motorcycle as a standby motorcycle that you can bring anybody, even if they barely know how to ride. This one's particularly cool. I mean, has a bigger tank. He wants a little more for it, but it looks like he's taking care of it, which I like. So XT225 or XT250, also recommended on my list. Also, if you look around and you don't mind a tall bike, the XR650L, I've never had one. That's another bike I've never had. I look forward to trying in the future. But people love this motorcycle. It is the more off-roady version, I would say, of the 650s out of all of them probably. Where it's not trying to be an adventure bike, it's trying to be a big dual sport, and it just wants to go off-road. Plenty of torque, plenty of power, but very tall. This one says it has 20,000 miles. Whatever. That doesn't matter. These single-cylinder carbureted engines last forever. It doesn't matter if it's got 40,000 miles. It'll probably still run for another 5 seasons for you without a problem. I mean, of course, use your discretion. Go there, listen to the engine, see if there's anything leaking. But in general, they just keep going with a lot of these bikes on this list. That's a beautiful thing about single-cylinder engines. They're so simple. There's not much to them that they just last forever. They just seem to stick around. A little bit of a side story, I bought a quad one time for $50 that the guy left out in the rain. Overall, wasn't too bad. And one afternoon, I had the carburetor rebuilt, and I had that thing running and purring. My kids rode it for 2 or 3 seasons. So it was a Suzuki 230, and it was like an 80s model. The point is, these things just don't die. All right. And the same thing with the XR650L. Look at that. It's already got the luggage racks, everything. $3,000, you can't beat it. This is probably somebody that's either upgrading to a new motorcycle or maybe they got too old for the hobby. Perfect find. Here's another one here. This guy wants a little more. So there's a slew of motorcycles that you can find under $3,000. Now, of course, if you want to spend a little bit less and you want something brand new, you could also go the Chinese way. Now, one I personally recommend was the one I tested is the Bashan Bras 250, the new one that comes with knobbies. It has a skid plate. It has a rear rack. It has LED lights. It has steel braided cables. All this for $2,000 plus $300 shipped. If you want this motorcycle, I also have a promo code to save you $50. I figured I would throw that on the list. It makes a great secondary bike. I did a whole review on it. I'll put the review link here or I'll pin it in the first comment below. But that's a bike to look at too if you just want to get out there, you want to go. And also I think because of how quiet it is and how mild it is, it's great for anybody. Simple carburetor to work on. I also did a video on that. It's all around a pretty good motorcycle for a starter or a backup. And it gets you out there riding without breaking the bank. So that's another motorcycle to consider. And that will conclude my list for today. I hope you guys found some value. I hope this inspires you to go out and get your spring motorcycle or your winter or whatever it is that you can get out there and ride, because this is a beautiful sport and it's amazing for all of us to be in this community together. So thank you for watching. You have my respect for throwing your leg over a motorcycle. My name is Andrew and this is Motorcycles Off-Road. Thanks guys.